Becker is currently a project manager at CSI Telecom, a consulting firm based in San Francisco. Most recently, Steve was radio systems administrator at Yolo County, California, and before that, telecommunications manager at Contra Costa County. Steve's been active in NAPCO for 12 years, and in 2007 was president of the 48 County Northern California chapter. Up until last year, he served on regional planning committees for the long-term planning and management of 700 megahertz, 800 megahertz, and 4.9 gig public safety spectrum. Steve has a painful story to share about some of his simulcast experience and attention to detail. Steve?
Does anybody know where Yolo County is? Okay.
I'm from the University of California, Davis originally.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good. I'm glad. Well, first of all, how many of you are technicians? Raise your hands. Engineers? Raise your hands. How about non-technical administrative types? Anybody? I see 1, 2. Good. I'm going to be talking to you because this is so much fun. And I really, even though I'm going to talk about a very bad thing that happened, these are things that you need to be alerted to. And as a body of technical people, I am really sorry to see we've lost so many excellent technicians over the years. Most of them are approaching that 6 feet and under, it seems like. First of all, Yolo County does not stand for you only live once. We had the name of the county way before that became a wonderful phrase or acronym. Let's start off by just describing what this radio system looks like. And I'll put a picture up there. Maybe you could do this for me, Ed, while I'm trying to get this thing.
While you're dancing?
While I'm dancing and trying to convince everybody here that this is not a disaster, if you can fit it in there. Okay, first of all, at Yolo County about 5 years ago, they called me in and they said, hey, we have a mess on our hands. I said, well, what's the problem? They said, well, the mic cores just don't work anymore. That should have been the warning sign for me that I was in trouble to begin with. But I like a challenge. I like building radio systems, and I like seeing people have something that's going to be reliable. I said, well, how are you linking the repeaters? There is no linking of repeaters. There is just one site called Bald Mountain. On Bald Mountain, it's about 1,900 feet, overlooks the entire Sacramento Valley. They have a license that's very old, where they can run 600 watts ERP from that site. And for years, that's how they manage communications. They had their sheriff's channel up there, they had their fire channel up there, and they put out a potent signal. Well, kind of. The antenna systems didn't work. They had guys that had come in there over the years saying, well, if we take a 4-bay dipole and we put a splitter on it and we put another beam on it here, maybe we can get a pattern that looks good. But when you start mixing and matching antennas like that, things normally don't work too well. So,
Would you like your resume?
No, I don't want that one. Why would you want that? That's kind of like, let's see here, looking for mine here. It should say, where's this? Oh, this is one of those new confounded devices. Okay. It should say, see, I've got tape programming stuff in here. What do I have here? My Justine stuff. Simulcast. Ooh, there we are. Okay. You have a pointer? Yeah. Boy, burn somebody's eyes out. Hey, there you go. Okay. Yolo County is northeast of northwest of Sacramento. And you would think for an area with a very high population, you'd get a lot of good technicians. Okay, and you'd be on the forefront of technology. Well, I already told you they had MyCore, and I was telling you that they had a microwave, a 2-channel microwave radio, 6 gig path that went from the dispatch center in Woodland up to Bald Mountain. So this is Dispatch Center, and this is Bald Mountain. Here's the exciting part. The microwave was 35 years old. It was not anything new. So this was actually a project that required a complete redesign of the radio system. We had to develop sites, we had to build sites, put in grounding systems, technical stuff. It just means that when we get hit by lightning, dispatchers aren't there electrified, okay? We had a very good design. We worked with Ed O'Connor and Steve Paulson, and we said, you know, this is what we want to do. We want to build a simulcast radio system. Well, why would we need simulcast if we're setting up at 1,800, 1,900 feet with a 600-watt transmitter? It's because about 3 miles away, there was a hardened site called a casino that was built on the side of the mountain, and they couldn't, for some strange reason, get communications in there. Now, we could have gone with a distributed antenna system, but they wanted to have communications up into this canyon where there is no coverage. It's called the Cache Creek Casino, and that's right in this area here. So you see Bald Mountain at 600 watts, Cache Creek. So we built, and this was one of the reasons we wanted to go with simulcast. Now in conversations with people, they said, well, you can't do simulcast. I mean, it's just too close together and you'll have all sorts of interference problems. And we said, well, what we're really thinking here is when Bald Mountain burns to the ground, how do we cover the rest of the county? And so the idea here was we would have simulcast as a backup radio system so that if we lost our main transmitter, we could turn on the transmitters to cover the low-lying areas. Now that's kind of an expensive approach, but this was the way we wanted to do it. We went out and we went to a shop that we had been using for many years. The shop came in there and they said, oh yeah, we can do this. And I said, that's wonderful. They showed up with their 2 technicians. One was very green. Well, he wasn't quite green in color, but you know, he was new. And the other guy supposedly knew everything there was about simulcasting, broadcasting, TV, radio, AM, FM, anything, everything. And these guys started putting this stuff together. They didn't have a clue as to how to rack a panel. We had problems with guys showing up saying we could build you a tower, only to find that this company, which had been putting up towers for 30 years, excellent reputation, for some reason on one of my towers decided to build the bottom 80 feet upside down. Okay? These are the kind of problems that we get to face when you're dealing with people who say they know what they're doing, but don't necessarily know how to get there. Now I'm going to move very quickly. What you're seeing here is all the various microwave radio sites we eventually built in. It's a loop. It has a number of spurs, which a spur is just, for non-technical people, kind of think of a train, goes off into some place where it just has one path in and out. When we first turned this thing on, we turned on the Sheriff's Department radio first. And it worked perfect. We had no interference in the overlap zones. And of course that was after we rebuilt the first time after they couldn't rack things properly. And it worked just fine. We said, well, this ought to be a piece of cake, man. We've got to be able to now go in there with our fire channel and have it work properly. So now I'm going to go to another picture. Hopefully this thing will let me do it without showing you my resume. There were 3 sites. Again, we had Bald Mountain here, we had Cache Creek Casino here, and we had a 3rd site out here at the Winners New Public Safety Facility. This is actually where they built the tower upside down and then I had to yell up. They had to come out and redo it all over again. Now what we found was that, and I'm going to start giving you the symptoms, because everybody likes to have a nice mystery and try to figure it out. And last year I talked with Joe about this. I said, Joe, this is the screwiest thing. I said, I can turn on this transmitter at Bald Mountain and this transmitter at Cache Creek, and there is no interference on the green fire channel. I said, I can turn on the green or Cache Creek transmitter, and I can turn on Winners, and in this middle area, there's no interference problems. Again, where the 2 signals meet. I said I can turn on Bald Mountain and I can turn on Winners by itself, and I get no interference. If I try to turn on all three, I get interference. Again, the sheriff's channel, same configuration, it worked perfect. But the fire channel refused. We would get that horrible, now this is an analog radio system. It uses TB-8100s. The software, the technicians are looking at it, the software is the same. Everything we're looking at programming-wise is identical. But whenever we tried to turn all three of them on at the same time, interference reigned. So we said, okay, let's look at the alignment of the radios again. We realigned the radios. Alignment was perfect. We looked at the Harris, what do we call ourselves now?
Gates Air.
Gates Air.
But what you have is still Harris. That's what
Well, yeah, you have to send me the sticker so I can put them on there and say
Yeah.
Gates Air. We spent hours talking with Steve Paulson, Ed O'Connor, and they were stumped. They were saying, we can't figure, you're giving us all the symptoms here. There's something really screwy going on here. Now, we've checked the alignment of the transmitters. We've checked the GPS. Now, we've checked everything that we know of. And so I said, okay, these guys that originally installed this, they're stumped. Bring in another crew, another company in the Sacramento area. I said, guys, and they said, no problem, man. We're experts at this stuff. We do this all the time. We're Motorola. I said, okay, go for it. It's a tape radio. I hope you know what it looks like. So these guys go up there, and they looked at it, and they started, and they came up, believe it or not, with the same conclusion. We don't know. Now, this is kind of, I want you to have this religious image. It's Good Friday. I've already been here, I've talked with Joe, and I've talked with others. It's 5 o'clock, and this other crew that we brought in said, well, it's 5 o'clock. See you guys later. They left me sitting there. I'm sitting on the floor, beating my head against the wall, saying, I don't understand why this thing doesn't work. We've tried, we've checked all of our equipment. What's there to do? Now, at this point, does anybody here have an idea of what went wrong?
You got audio turned over on the sides.
We checked that. Never an audio, we didn't have no facing
That
across.
point with three or something together.
Nope, we were, again, the interference was never, the radios were working properly. This is the screwy part. There was no interference.
Yeah. The three things are coming together from different sides.
Well,
And generating a null.
And that was a thought as well, but we were able to prove that that was the problem was when we went over to the sheriff's channel, using the same antennas, the same receivers, everything being equal, the problem wasn't there. It was only on this one fire channel. I saw somebody else raise a hand who wanted to go.
Simulcast delay spread?
What was that?
Simulcast delay spread?
No, not that.
Some sort of weird ball like that reflected from the mountains?
There's a lot of iron in the mountains there, but no, that wasn't it either. Anybody else want to venture a guess?
Other reference issue?
What was that?
Other reference issue?
We thought that might be it. We spent weeks looking at this. We spent 6 months trying to figure out how this thing was doing what it was doing. And we were looking at the software, the tape software for the TB-8100s. We were doing comparisons, looking screen to screen. Everything was identical.
How about too much power from one site is too far away?
That was a concern. We did adjust the power levels to see if that would make it work or not make it work. Didn't matter.
Something else? Something else meeting with it?
Now, Jill, I saw you raise, no, it was not. We thought that we said, well, there's got to be some kind of external interference. No, that wasn't it either. Yeah, Joe.
Was the base station firmware?
The firmware was identical. We bought all these tapes at the same time. Okay. Drum roll, please. Here we go. I'm sitting there, Good Friday, with my head in my hand, going, what a way to spend Easter, okay? And it occurs to me that we've tried everything possible, and there's only one thing left for me to do. I took a copy of the sheriff's radio programming. I reprogrammed that into the fire channel. I changed the frequency, and then I drove to the other two sites and did the identical thing. The problem went away. The only thing I can figure is there was something in the programming, if any of you would like to, if you like tapes, I can give you the before and afters. We looked at it for 6 months. It all came down to there was something really weird going on with the configuration we had for the fire channel, which was brought on a little bit later, but supposedly had been copied from the sheriff's office at one point. I have no explanation on why that did what it did, but the problem went away. We were able to simulcast, and it worked. Now, what did I learn from this? There's a lot of technicians out there who think they know what they're doing. And as the user, as not the technician, as not the engineer, I had to figure out the problem for them. Now, have I been a technician in my life? Yes, I have. I know how to use equipment. I know the technology. I've been around for a while. But to have to put on the technician hat and do the work of guys who supposedly know what they're doing was very disappointing. And this kind of goes to those of you who have not been with the radio, who are the end users. It's important that whoever you get as a technician or a company that represents itself as technical, that they are qualified with what they're doing.
So I'm not clear. So you changed the frequency, that's the only thing you changed, and the problem went away. So the problem is the particular frequency you had and the tape radio.
It was the programming.
File.
It was the program file that I took from the tape, from the sheriff's office, which we knew worked at those 3 sites. I reprogrammed the fire channel at all 3 of those sites, and all that I changed within the configuration file was the frequency.
Question, did you try and just reload the programming
We did that.
of the fire stuff?
Yes,
Yeah.
we did. It never fixed it.
It wasn't simulcast. I had the same issue with the reciter, and I had 2 spares in the box. Now, this is ham band, okay, so I was in the 145 range with it. I dumped that same program into another reciter, configured it, and the problem was still there. I then went to the site where I was having problems. I pulled that reciter out, brought it home on the bench, dumped it again. I lost track of which reciter I was using, but ultimately I had one that I wanted to ship back to Houston. They sent me a new one.
Yeah, we went through the same thing. We went through.
There's so many parameters in that repeater. What? Yeah. Okay.
Well, and at this time here, I want to get back up here, but I just wanted to tell you that there's strange things happening out here. No matter what you try, you sometimes sit there going, I give up. What am I doing here? And so you just end up going back to the real basics. I mean, it was something that after I figured out, just swap configuration files and change the frequency, it worked. And it was on the reciters that supposedly, we realigned all of them. It was never aligned. It was just something really strange with that configuration file. And when you copy it from one to the other, because they have the same channel, you're just passing on the virus, if I mean, from one radio to the other. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. So one of the summaries of Steve's lesson is simulcast, another name for its attention to detail. And by the way, this illustrates the importance of staging a system in your shop before moving out to mountain sites. You want to do everything where you can just walk the probes across the room before actually letting them out there, because strange things sometimes happen.